Hi folks, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're baking with a very special guest. Mayor Doug Craig came from humble beginnings in foster care to become one of the most influential leaders in Cambridge history. Today he will be sharing his family's traditional raspberry cake and a little bit about what he loves about this city. My name is Polly. Growing up, my family didn't spend much time cooking together, and I never inherited a cookbook of time-honored recipes. So I'm on a mission to meet everyday people from the community and learn the amazing stories behind their cherished recipes in order to build a cookbook that one day I can pass on. Welcome to Generation Kitchen.
Food was, for me, initially not a very pleasant time, but later on a great time. I grew up in foster care, and some of the experiences weren't very good. One home I lived in, we would, for supper one night, we get a bowl with sandwiches in, that would be supper. And then the next night, we get a bowl just with mashed potatoes, and it was like that all the time. I was left alone all the time, so I made my own breakfast, my own lunch, all of that. Not very well, obviously. And then later on in life, really because of my wife, Ginny, to a much wider variety of what life was about and what food experiences were about. Well, the recipe is, of course, from my wife's side of the family, goes back to the 1870s. Very simple, but very tasty, and I think that's the main thing that it brings to everything. And it's part of what, it's a reflection back on those times.
All right, so what are we making today?
It's a raspberry cake. You want me to tell you how to do this? You've never done this before, right?
I have not, no.
Okay. I've only done it once, so be easy with me here.
We'll go through it together.
Anyways, we got to put the sugar and the butter and the eggs together. That's the first thing we have to do.
And we're going to use our mixer, right?
We're going to use our mixer, I believe so, yes. What's interesting about the cake that we're baking, it goes back to my wife's great-grandmother. So I can imagine back then just about how difficult it all was for people to make things when they didn't have blenders and quartz countertops and things like that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And let me use this too. We're going to put this in. You'd almost think I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, you look like it.
I don't want to get anything on my new thing.
Yeah, of course not.
We got to add salt and raspberries too.
Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we are too. Salt. Is this the salt?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
No, that is the baking soda.
There it is.
There we go.
I rarely make mistakes, but that's fine. Add the salt.
Perfect.
And the raspberries. Okay, so we have to put these in.
Perfect.
And mix well.
Okay. So we want to break up the raspberries, it sounds like.
We do.
Okay.
You get pieces all through it.
And what do you do as a mayor?
You don't have a private life. Okay, that's the first thing you come to terms with. Every day was different, and that was the good part about the job. And it was good for me as a person, and it was good for my family to some extent in terms of what I did. And I traveled the world on behalf of Cambridge.
So do we want to put the flour in now?
Let's put the flour in.
Alrighty. There you go. That looks pretty well mixed to me.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I
Okay.
think we're good. So we got to put this in 2 greased pans, floured pans.
Okay.
Bake at 350 for 30 minutes.
Okay.
There we go.
Perfect. So you must know a lot about Cambridge's history then.
Well, I know a fair amount. I mean, I've made part of the history too. It's interesting. Whether it's a new bridge, an old post office, pedestrian bridge, a new city hall, they all have a history out behind them. They're all controversial. Everybody doesn't like everything you do.
Right.
And so you hear from those people all the time.
And just shake it.
Yep, that's what Grandma used to do.
All right, so
All
we'll
right.
get these in the oven.
All right, go ahead. I got the light one. Okay, now the icing. So we got to put the brown sugar in, right?
Okay. And that's packed.
It
Ooh.
is packed. Pardon me.
No, no worries. That's how you know it's packed. So the next ingredient is the cream or the butter?
Oh, it doesn't matter. They both go in, so
Okay.
we're okay with that.
Okay. I'll pour in the
And half the cream.
half the cream?
Yep.
Okay. So being the mayor, how did food really affect your daily life?
Well, there was too much of it around. That was the first thing. The second thing was that we were always getting invited out. Obviously, I went to
Yeah.
all kinds of dinners and events, and so you got a taste of the whole community, quite literally.
And so what did getting invited out for so many dinners teach you about food and community?
Well, food is a centrifugal force, and what it does is it brings people together. And that's the best part about food. So we got to let this boil, okay?
Okay. Yeah, and we don't want it too hot, from what I know about sugar, because then it'll burn.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we know when the icing is done?
Well, when it's bubbled, see, it's bubbling now, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
great.
it's
When it
starting
starts
to.
to bubble, like that,
It's just bubbling around the edges right
bubbling,
now.
yeah. When it bubbles, and then we can let it cool. It's got to cool for a little bit.
Okay.
There's not a lot of icing. There's only a very thin layer in the middle, the first layer
Mm-hmm.
of the cake. You put the next cake on, you put a very thin layer on top of that. And I guess it goes back to earlier times when they didn't have a lot of things a lot of foodstuffs and ingredients
Mm-hmm.
and everything like we enjoy today.
You might want to be a little more conservative with your sugar, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we've let the cakes cool for a couple minutes,
Right.
and now we're going to put some icing on our middle layer.
Doesn't take a lot of icing, and so I'm going to put some of it on here, in fact.
And we've been letting the icing cool as well, so that's helped it thicken up. I can imagine that we wouldn't have used as much icing back then, you know?
No.
Sugar would have been harder to come by.
Well, that's why they used brown sugar a lot, because white sugar was a lot more expensive. So this is really just to cement it on.
Right, to stick
Okay.
it together.
Very good.
Thank you.
Now you can see the raspberries on top, which is kind of nice. We're good.
Beautiful.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to do the top.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I hear you're a new grandfather.
Well, I am. I have a grandson. His name is Oliver, which quite surprised me in terms of a name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but apparently it's the in name these days. So I was saying to a friend of mine in Toronto, my grandson, you won't believe it, his name is Oliver. He said, well, so is my grandson. So,
Do you think you'll be making this for your grandson one day?
well, I hope so. We'll see if he likes it. I think he will, actually.
I can't imagine he wouldn't. It smells
Well,
like
if
it's
I had
going to
him
be
here, he
amazing.
would just put his hand right into it. So I think that's all we do. Okay?
Perfect.
All right?
Yeah.
And then we need the raspberries.
Yes, so let's get her all pretty.
I think you have to share stories all the time. If you look at the pictures of great-grandma and grandma, you can see that how they dressed, how formal they were. We're a lot more informal today. And you can bring a history to the actual cake and stories of those people. And I think that's the important aspect of it.
All right, let's dig in.
Okay, go ahead. Don't take the big part.
Okay. Oh, man. Oh, wow. That's really good. That's a lot sweeter than I was expecting.
Yep, that's great. We're going to share it with anybody?
Pardon?
Are we going to share this with anybody?
I think we should just eat the whole
all
thing,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Sharing the kitchen with Mayor Craig let me in on some great secrets for a simple yet delicious dessert. His story of perseverance and community made me realize it's not about where you start, but where you see yourself going that counts, and how food is a powerful force for celebrating our diverse histories and bringing communities together.